Hi, my name is Jenny Durand, and welcome to NFW Podcasts. Today, I want to talk about something that I wasn't entirely sure I wanted to talk about, which is relationships and mental. If you are a watcher of Insecure, you know that, or maybe you don't know, maybe I should say spoiler. In the new episode of Insecure, season 4, episode 9, we find out that Nathan has mental issues. He's bipolar. He's been diagnosed, and he's working on himself and getting better, and really just dealing with everything that a diagnosis like that um, involves. One of the things that I don't really like about Insecure, even though I watch it religiously every Sunday, is the fact that it doesn't really get to explore as much as I would like. Part of that is because it's not long enough. Part of that, I think, is because they seem pretty committed to keeping it to the two main characters, whereas I wish it kind of encompassed all of the characters. Like, I really, 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 really need an episode devoted to Kelly sometime in the future. I know it won't happen this season, but I really, really need an episode devoted to Kelly. I love her so much. She is my spirit animal. Um, I don't know how this show would even work without her, because the last couple of episodes where she has not been in it, I have not found quite as enjoyable as I do when I get to see her on my screen doing some funny and amazing things. So anyway, in Insecure, we find out that Nathan has been diagnosed with bipolar. I know everyone is either Team Nathan or Team Lawrence. I am actually Team Issa being by herself and just figuring herself out. I know that, we started off the season with her kind of being alone and trying to figure herself out, but I feel like it kind of got interrupted, if that makes any sense, only because I don't necessarily think Issa knows what she wants for her future. I think she knows what would be the like quote unquote right way to live her life, but I don't think she actually knows what she wants. I'm not entirely sure she wants the idea of marriage. I'm not entirely sure she wants kids. I haven't gotten that feeling from her yet. And so because of that, I kind of just want her to be alone so she can figure that out and like kind of show us what she wants before she enters into a relationship where whatever she wants becomes whatever her partner wants, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want her partner to be the deciding factor of what she wants. I want her to go into a relationship already knowing what she wants, and hopefully find a partner who already knows what he wants, and they like can meet in the middle somewhere, because no, you're never going to find someone who wants exactly the same thing as you. And so watching the episode, we get the scenes with Lawrence in the very beginning where they're having sex and they're working together and they're doing their thing. And I was kind of disappointed because I really thought that LOWKEY Happy was closing the book on the Lawrence chapter of her life. I really thought that that was their end, that was their goodbye. And then to kind of see that wasn't their goodbye, but that was actually the reawakening of their relationship, I was kind of disappointed, even though the scenes were like visually beautiful and, all the rest. But I was disappointed, I'll be honest. And so when the episode was over, I jumped on a Zoom call with a few of my friends and we talked about it. We do it every week. It's just something to like relax and help cut down on the monotony of quarantine life. And, we're all talking and they are all Team Issa and I am Team Nobody. I don't really like Issa all that much. I don't really like Molly all that much. I really only watch Insecure for Kelly. Um, and they were going over how much they love the fact that Lawrence and Issa are back together, and some of them were talking about how much they really want Issa and Nathan back together. And I was kind of just sitting there and I was like, well, I don't really know if I want her with anyone, as explained before, but I'm not entirely sure Issa is capable of being in a relationship with someone who has a mental illness. Um, she has trouble expressing herself. She just does. It's evident in all of the episodes that whenever it's a negative thought or feeling, that doesn't necessarily have to do with her own inadequacies, but the inadequacies that she sees in the people that are in her life and the relationships that they share. She doesn't voice it. She has a very avoidant personality that I don't really love. Um, and so I was telling them that being in a relationship with someone with mental illness, I'm not a healthcare professional by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not a therapist. I do not like I'm not in the healthcare field at all. Okay, so just take this for what it is. Do not quite honestly, I go to therapy. So um so anyway, I was telling them that I don't really think that she would be a great fit for someone who has um, a mental illness like bipolar disorder, just based off of what I've read and based off of what I've heard from people who have been in relationships or related to people with mental illness. It's one of those illnesses where it can be very difficult to be in a relationship with them. There's highs and there are lows, and both the highs and lows are very severe. And Issa has trouble being in a normal relationship without the impact of mental illness. So I'm not entirely sure she could handle a relationship that has that. Um, when I think about like dating in general, because I do that a lot as a writer, especially a writer of romantic fiction, I do pose lots of questions to my friends because romance is it there's so many variations of it, and what I consider to be romantic may not be what someone else considers to romantic. Everyone has their love language. Um, and one of the questions that, actually, interesting enough, I had posed to my friends earlier in the week is, could you date someone with a disability? And I'm not just talking about mental disability, but even physical disability. And I'm not talking about like whether or not you're in a relationship with somebody and then they get into an accident and something happens. I'm talking about in the very beginning, you're in a coffee shop and someone approaches you. Would you be able to date someone with a disability? And I think most of us, being very honest people, were like, I think it depends on the disability. There's certain things that, you know, are important to us in order to be in a healthy relationship versus someone else. And I eventually did narrow it down to mental illness because I wasn't necessarily thinking about bipolar disorder, but I was thinking about depression because that's something that is very prevalent, especially in the African American community, which is what I'm a part of and also what I write about. And then also anxiety, which is another thing that is prevalent in the African American community, but also something that I have experienced with myself. And so when I was talking to them, I was telling them, I was like, I think it would really depend on the type of illness, like the type of disability, and it's because I grew up with mental instability in my family, my immediate family, and I saw the highs and I saw the lows, and I don't know that I'm capable of dealing with that. I tend to gravitate towards stability. I tend to gravitate towards plans. I love having lists. I write everything down in a list. I don't even like using electronic planners. I have a day, like I literally have a day planner and I have a notebook. I carry them everywhere with pens and paper and I write in them. People think it's hilarious because they're like, you have an iPhone, use your calendar. And I'm like, it's not the same. I gravitate towards stability primarily because my childhood was so unstable that, now as an adult, I crave that stability. And so for me to be in a healthy relationship because of my past, instability just wouldn't work. It would create even more anxiety in me than I already have. And I think a lot of people don't really think about it all that much. Or if they do, they don't really talk about it all that much. I know that when I'm talking to my friends, sometimes I feel like I'm just pulling questions out of my butt. I feel like sometimes when they read the questions, they think, oh, she's pulling this out of her butt. But like, it's things that I really think about even in my normal life. So yeah, so we were watching the episode and we were talking, and everyone has their opinions. And I was just saying that for me, how Issa approaches relationships is so different. Like, I have always kind of been like, I don't really like Issa and Molly's relationship. I feel like it's even more evident this season than any other season, primarily because it seems like they stopped celebrating their wins with each other. They became less open with each other as the season progressed, and they stopped seeing each other as new human beings and just taking them at face value, and just carried all that old baggage from all the past behavior into the present. um, and I don't think that's a healthy friendship either. Like, because even if you forget like romantic relationships, when you think in terms of friendship, do you really want to be friends with someone who you feel like you can't share your wins with? Because if you do, it's automatically something negative. I'm one of those people that tend to gravitate towards positivity, and I try as much as possible to exude positivity. I want the people around me to be happy, and if you show me that not only are you going to bring negativity into my space, but if I'm happy and I'm sharing that with you, it's not going to create happiness between us. It's only going to create more negativity. I tend to back off. I'm not like, I don't want a combative relationship with anyone in my life. So when I'm watching the season go by and I'm seeing the devolution of their relationship, I'm thinking to myself, these two people should not be friends. They should not be friends. They should just back away from each other, because who wants to be friends with someone who isn't willing to be present with you, but only like live in your past and your past mistakes? Like, the past is the past for a reason. You can't undo it, you can't go back to it. It's the past. You want to leave it there, and hopefully you've learned whatever lessons you need to learn. um, while I was talking to my friends, they are very into the signs. So I am going to start this right now by saying I don't know nothing about no signs. New York, and like, I grew up in South Carolina. Um, the birth signs are not that big of a deal over there, but once I moved to New York, it became a very serious thing where people are like, oh, you're a Sagittarius, you're a Scorpio, you're whatever, whatever. I've read up a little bit on Sagittariuses and Scorpios, mostly because my birthday falls where I'm kind of on the cusp of Scorpio, and so I just was curious. And whenever I explain my point of view, they always fall back to, oh, you're a Sagittarius, that's why you have that view. And I'm like, maybe that's the case. Once again, not really up there on the signs. But I also just think it's about what your perspective of people are. Like, I think everyone goes into a relationship with a clear idea, or should have a clear idea, of what they want out of that relationship. And it doesn't have to be something monetary, it doesn't have to be something in which, it's something physically present, but just sociologically, what do you want out of this relationship? I personally gravitate towards people that are happy, that share the same values that I do, that don't want to live in constant aggravation and argument, because I don't want to live that way. I gravitate towards people that treat people with kindness, because I've experienced a lot. And so I watch the way that people treat each other. I watch the way my friends treat other people. I watch the way my friends treat strangers, because I want to know those things. I want to be sure that the people that I have in my life are good people, because it's so easy to meet a bad person, and that bad person will make it their mission in your life to make you as miserable as they are. And so whenever I'm confronted with that, I have to make a decision, because like, even if it may be emotional, even if it does feel as if, you're breaking your own heart by separating from someone, it's better to separate and mourn the loss than to live with someone who is going to or just doesn't fit in your life. And that's okay. Anyway, all right, thank you for listening. Please subscribe and like if you appreciate the content, and I'll see you later. Bye.